Okay, hello, welcome all to the Quantum Experience. This is the first edition of the series. The purpose of this series is to hopefully conjure some interest in the younger generation, and hopefully we can get some people to take up quantum computing as a career option. I'm delighted to say on this first edition that I am joined by Dr. Ryan Parker. Ryan, thank you for joining us.
You.
So just before we begin, as this is the first edition, Ryan, I actually did consult a think tank about how we were going to name this, what we were going to name this series. That think tank is are my friends. So they came up with a few suggestions. So I just wanted to run them by you before we begin. So
Go for it.
the first one was the Quantum Chronicles, a little bit mythical, I thought, a little bit sci-fi.
Yeah.
Contemplating life. Now, bit philosophical, maybe. Yeah.
A little bit cringe as well, but I quite like it. It sounds like it'd be a new quantum company, wouldn't it? Contemplation or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that
Don't
one down.
steal that. I might use that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Put it in the post. And then the third one, Schrodinger's chat, which actually was a personal favorite of mine. And then the last one was Quarks and Rec, but you know, it's pretty cool.
They're all
But
quite good. They're much better than I'd probably come up with. So yeah.
yeah. Okay. Let's go into it. So I thought we start with a little introduction. So tell us who you are, what's your background, and yeah, what are you up to?
Yes, so yeah, I'm Ryan. So I have been in industry for kind of 6 to 7 years at this point. I started in chemistry, which is what I did my master's degree in many years ago now. So I did a chemistry master's degree with a year in industry, where I worked at a place called 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐐𝐬𝐞. I think they're now just called RB in Hull, making Nurofen in a lab and testing Lemsip and all sorts of fun things like that. Then sort of made the switch from chemistry to quantum physics by taking a PhD up in physics, which I did at the University of York, under what was then the Quantum Communications Hub, led by Timothy Spiller, who was my supervisor for my PhD. So I did my PhD in theoretical quantum physics. I should point out I'm very much a theoretician, not an experimentalist at all. So my PhD was around entanglement swapping networks for the quantum internet and trying to come up with some sort of niche protocol ideas for what could be part of the quantum internet. So very far future kind of things. It was, 20 to 30 years away before you can even do any of these things. My PhD, I then worked at BT for a couple of years. So that was working with Andrew Lord and his team in the optical networks research department. So there, my focus was on sort of implementing QKD within, an organization as complex as BT. So a lot of it came from, at the time, some of the sort of teething problems that the industry had with, for example, the NCSC report kind of saying to not use QKD in certain environments. So a lot of that was the challenge of trying to sort of drum up some interest with customers and deploying QKD into customer networks. I then started my next job at 𝐓𝐡𝐞, where I was the lead quantum theoretician on the ESA, the European Space Agency QKD SAT project. So that was a very different style job. In fact, it went from sort of customer use case focus to actually doing a lot of the hardcore maths and things like security proofs for the QKD protocols from the satellite down to the optical ground station. Which was great. I love both those jobs very much, and I learned a huge amount in both of them. But yeah, since then, I've been at Vodafone for just under a year at this point, where I started as a contractor doing a lot of the quantum safe transformation preparation. So transforming all of Vodafone's networks to be safe from quantum computer attacks using things like post-quantum cryptography. And I'm now the quantum team lead at Vodafone. So we have a number of sort of branches of quantum that we're looking at. So of course, quantum computing is one of our heaviest focuses in the team, as well as the PQC work. We're also looking into quantum networking as well. So things like, future quantum internet, but nearer term, things like quantum key distribution and quantum communications. And also quantum sensing as well in our networks and downstream to customers as well, seeing where we can deploy some of that in our networks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You mentioned that you originally went into chemistry. So what was your sort of first exposure to quantum physics or quantum technology?
Yes, I mean when you study chemistry, you kind of have to do quantum whether you like it or not in certain parts of the modules. And I most people don't like it because it's very different to chemistry in ways. It's not like if you study physics at uni, you expect to do quantum. I just happened to love it, and my brain just worked with it. I guess it's just one of those things. I wasn't good at some parts of chemistry, but I was certainly good at the kind of physical chemistry side of things, like obviously the physics bits and the quantum side of things. So yeah, I said that would probably been the second year of my undergrad, I guess. And then obviously I went away in my third year to do this year in industry, which had nothing to do with quantum physics whatsoever because I was building, making drugs in a lab. But then in my fourth year, I then actually did my master's dissertation was on quantum chemistry, so to do with sort of quantum within an organic molecule. And seeing if you can transmit light through this molecule. So from that, I realized actually I really do quite like quantum, and it just happened to be one of the topics that I was, the best topic that I had at uni. So it only made sense to carry on looking at it. I mean, at the time, I was very naive and had no idea what kind of jobs were in quantum. After I didn't know anything about quantum computing until I started my PhD. I had no idea really what QKD was or any of these things. So I kind of went into it all very blind, I guess. Yeah, but I found it interesting, so that's why I stuck with it. Yeah.
So that's the most important thing, isn't it? So a lot of young people who are looking to get into the industry, I'm sure they're sort of scared to make some mistakes, some big mistakes. So are there any mistakes that you made early in your career that was maybe a big learning experience for you?
Yeah, I guess I mean the one thing, and this isn't just me, the amount of people I talk to now, I realize that this is more common than it is, and it is the feeling of kind of imposter syndrome that you can get in, highly technical roles, but also just through university. So I kind of always, I guess making the jump from a subject that I'd studied for, for all of my school, which was things like chemistry, to then doing quantum physics, which I'd only ever done a few modules in at university. You very quickly realize that you don't really know anything and you constantly feel like you're never going to pass your PhD. I mean, that's not specific to me. I don't think anybody ever does a PhD and feels like they're actually going to make it to the end. But yeah, I think the kind of not believing in yourself, as cheesy as that sounds, really is like one of the biggest mistakes I think I made, because it stopped me, really thinking that I could actually go anywhere in the field. And in a field as niche as quantum, and specifically as a theoretician in quantum as well, there aren't many jobs really around at the moment for this, and there are some, and when they are there, they're sort of highly suitable to specific people. But that feeling of like not being quite worthy of those jobs can actually kind of inhibit everything. So I guess that the way that you kind of get over that is just pushing yourself and seeing it as actually you are good enough because you did get your degree, you have got work, and you do it really well. Is I say one of the lessons that I learned quite early in my career, and I still have to this day. To be honest, I don't think imposter syndrome ever really goes, but it's certainly less than it was. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess at certain points, if you're still pushing yourself, then you're gonna feel that way at some points.
Yep.
So has that experience of maybe realizing it, has that changed the way that you do things today?
I think so. I think it's actually made me a bit braver in kind of some of the things that you look at. I mean, one example is working on sort of security proofs for QKD protocols is extremely difficult maths. Fortunately, I wasn't doing this on my own. I worked with a fantastic cryptographer at the time who actually had a degree in maths and could help. But that feeling of not being good enough means that actually quite often you don't kind of push yourself to be like, well, no, I probably am right here. Let's stick down this path of me being right and, trying to solve this equation or something like that. So I think actually, yeah, now I'm a bit braver in what I say. Kind of ask for forgiveness later is one of the best things that my current line manager tends to tell me. Do it and ask for forgiveness later. And I think, being bold and taking the decisions is something that no matter what kind of job you're in, whether it's quantum or completely nothing to do with science whatsoever, is always worth keeping in mind.
Right.